Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here, coming at you with another trail tip, and today we're going to be talking about the oldest knot in man's history, the square knot. So I'm going to get the camera in overhead and I'm going to explain how to tie this, how not to tie it, what it's good for, what it's not good for, and some of the features and pros and cons of this knot, as well as some variants of this knot. So let's get the camera in overhead and we'll get started, shall we? Okay, to tie a square knot, you basically start off with two pieces of rope, and that's what a lot of people use a square knot for. Ideally, you want to have the same material and the same size of cord or rope. You can use different sizes and different materials, however, you won't get as good of a knot. I just happen to have both ends of the same piece of cord looped underneath the table so I can work with both ends of it and show you how to do this. Now, it doesn't matter whether you start off by crossing over this way, crossing over this way, crossing over this way, or crossing over this way. It doesn't matter because this is a symmetrical knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off putting the right over the left. Now, it doesn't matter at this point, again, whether you do this to put an overhand knot in it, or whether you do this to put an overhand knot in it. It doesn't matter. This is a symmetrical knot. Now, since I did right over left, I'm going to do left over right. I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to take my left and put it over my right, put another overhand knot in, and I'm going to leave this loose so you can see precisely how that knot looks. Now, you notice it's symmetrical. This half is a mirror image of this half. Now I want you to pay particularly close attention to the ends of this as I draw this up tight. You'll notice that the ends do not pull into the knot very much. Once it cinches up, they're basically the same length. And again, it's still a mirror image. Lay this out flat. This half of the knot is a mirror image of this half. And to further demonstrate the symmetry, this is the same as this. If I presented it to you this way, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and that. They look exactly the same. But it is very important that whatever handedness you put the first part in, you reverse that for the second. And it gets a very nice tight knot. Now, if you do it incorrectly, here I'm going to do left over right, and I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to take the left and put it over the right and repeat the process and make myself a knot. And you will look at it and say, well, that's very, very similar. Except for one problem. I want you to watch this as I draw this one tight. See how it, first off, it starts to twist. And then you can see the end starting to slip through. This is a very unstable knot. This is what's called a granny knot. And really, I don't know of anybody who has a use for a granny knot other than to make a demonstration like this. And actually, if I continue to put enough pressure on this, you can see that it's slipping through. If I continue to do that, it would just eventually let itself go. And so the granny knot really has no valuable use. And a lot of people learn it right over left, left over right, makes a knot, tidy and tight. And that's how you know if you just repeat that. Or you can reverse it, left over right, right over left, but then you have to come up with something that rhymes with left. But that's how you tie a square knot and how to identify the granny knot. Now, as I said, it's best to use this to tie two ropes together that are the same size and the same material. I'm going to show you what happens when you try to mix and match two materials. Get this laid out here. And you can see that I've got the exact same knot as I did before. Let me get this laid out just a little bit better so you can see it. That is a square knot. But watch very carefully what happens when I draw this together. You notice that both of these cords are laying side by side, these cords are laying side by side. But watch what happens when I pull this up tight. You'll notice the black paracord is starting to slip through, and it's also twisted. These two cords, when I lay this out, are laying side by side, but these are stacked on top of each other. So this rope, or this cord, does not have a good bite on this cord, and it could conceivably slip out. Now this would probably work just fine if you've got some spare cord that you want to tie down a tarp to cover a wood pile or something like this. That's probably just fine to do it that way. But for serious knot making, you want to stick with the same cord and the same material and the same size. Now there is an alternate method to tying a square knot. I'm going to show you that. You basically weave it, and you start by taking one end of the rope and make a loop, and then you bring it up through. You go around, and then you go back through, and then you have weaved your square knot. I'm going to show you that again. That's the exact same square knot as we had before. I'm going to show you that again, but I'm going to make a little bit of different method here. I'm going to come up through, I'm going to weave around, and then I'm going to come back through, and I'm going to pull this tight, and you would swear I've got a square knot, would you not? I mean, it's symmetrical. This half is a mirror image of this half, and if I present it to you like this, you can't tell the difference between that. However, when you look at the ends, you'll notice they're on opposite sides of the knot now. They aren't both up here, or they're not both down here. They're on opposite sides. This is called a thief knot. And it looks like a square knot, but you'll see how it starts to twist. And it is conceivable that if I put enough pressure, you can see it start to slip. So this is not a viable knot to tie ropes together with. However, this does have a purpose. And that is, if a person wanted to tie something up and then determine whether that they've tied up somebody's gotten into, usually somebody who undoes this knot will not recognize it as a thief knot, and when they go to try to hide their nefarious deeds, they will tie a proper square knot back up in there, and that way the original person who tied the knot can come back and say, this isn't the knot I put into. I need to check what I was protecting. The theory is sailors and mariners used to do this to tie up loads and doors and their ditty bags and duffel bags to make sure that nobody got into their bags and rummaged around and stole stuff. But that's about the only use for a thief knot. There is one more version of the square knot that I want to show you, and we're going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to pull a little bit more through this side. We're going to build it just like a regular square knot. However, instead of pulling this end all the way through, I'm going to leave it back through the original loop. And I'm going to pull this together, and instead of this end being over here, it's basically doubled back through the knot. And I end up with a knot that's almost as tight and secure as a square knot, but I have the advantage of being able to undo the knot just by pulling on this end. I want to show you that again in case there was something in there that you couldn't see, because I can't see the camera that's taking this video, and so I'm going to have to rely on, let me start all over. I have to rely on, what I think you can see. I'm going to pull a little bit more up here, left over right, right over left, and then I'm going to grab these two ends and pull that loop up, and now I have my wharf knot. No, this is not like Lieutenant Worf from Star Trek. This is a wharf like what you see at a harbor down by the ocean. And again, the nice thing about this is you can just pull on it and it'll undo the knot just like that. And there you have it. Good old-fashioned square knot. This is Backpack Hat coming at you with this trail tip. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out on the trail.